What's going on YouTube? My name is Yaz and welcome to this video. If you're the type of gamer that enjoys the occasional Final Fantasy game, you'll find my top Final Fantasy characters in this list. So without further ado, let's go!
10.
Starting with number 10, Snow from Final Fantasy XIII. In every conflicted Final Fantasy universe, there's always that character you need to be the light in the darkness. And in Final Fantasy XIII, Snow takes on that role. Raised as an orphan at first, and later on founding a neighborhood watch group to protect citizens of his seaside town, Snow always has others in mind, rather than himself. Even when it comes to his girlfriend Sarah. Despite her older sister forbidding the relationship, Snow is still persistent, and not to mention the fact that Sarah has a chance to become a monster later on in life, he is still loyal to her. Having such an optimistic character in the group is a major relief when surrounded by others who have a lack thereof.
9.
Dropping down to number 9, Cain Highwind from Final Fantasy IV. It's hard not to at least have one Dragoon on a Final Fantasy list, and to take up that role is Cain. With his father also being a Dragoon, Cain had pretty large shoes to fill. But in his still young life, his father had died suddenly, leaving Cain in the care of a king who also had a son named Cecil. At first, the two step-brothers didn't get along since most of the attention was on Cecil. But it didn't take long for a girl named Rosa to separate the two. The once feuding brothers now became friendly rivals, especially when it came to Rosa. Cain had developed romantic feelings for her, but her eyes were already on his brother. The Dragoon soon changes in personality when the main antagonist possesses him, where he went against his own brother, but still holding true to his emotions for Rosa. Once freed, Cain vows to atone for his actions, even though sadly, he did not attend Cecil and Rosa's wedding. Riddled with guilt, Cain undergoes a spiritual trial in Mount's ordeals, with hopes of becoming a worthy Dragoon to his deceased father.
8.
Following with number 8, Vincent Valentine from Final Fantasy VII. Dark and brooding, Vincent is just one big secret at first, and sees himself filled with sins for what has happened in his past. He's still an optional character, which can be easily missed, and having to take on an extremely annoying boss to even persuade him to join. Formerly a Turk who worked under the corporation Shinra, Vincent was sent to the small town of Nibelheim, nestled between the mountains, to supervise the Genova project. Once he arrived though, he fell in love with a scientist named Lucrezia. Sadly, she had to distance herself and ran to her associate, Professor Hojo. After becoming pregnant and having her baby as a test subject, Vincent grew angry, and it resulted in a bullet to his chest. It didn't take long for Hojo to begin using his half-dead body as another experiment, and soon, Vincent became the beast that he is. Able to morph into horrendous creatures in battle, he is an asset, but could also be a double-edged sword, depending. Though with a gruesome past, Vincent still shows that he cares for his beloved and for his friends.
7.
Dropping down to number 7, Vivi from Final Fantasy IX. Anyone who has played Final Fantasy should know what a black mage is, and Vivi is the king when it comes to magic. Despite looking like a 9-year-old with his hat too big for his head and usually being tripped in the streets or mugged, this mage is nothing to trifle with. Not knowing that he had just been a creation from the evil Queen Bran, Vivi is found in Alexandria wanting to see a play, but with his shyness and fault of being gullible, he soon finds himself in trouble with the guards. But it was all for the greater good, for he became a part of your group. After having to fight his own kind, Vivi begins to question his existence and his abilities. But for being so young with the knowing that one day he could suddenly stop working, Vivi is still a great companion to have in your time of need.
6.
Closing in on number 6, Oren from Final Fantasy X. What could you possibly want in a companion to travel with? Perhaps to know magic? Maybe healing spells? How about summoning? Or would you rather just have a badass man who can take on anything? Oren is your man. Being the mentor of your group, he is usually the one who gives permission to some choices and makes the decision with everyone following. But he's also the caretaker of Titus, since he knew and traveled with his father. Though being mostly strict in situations, he still has the group's interest in heart, and it shows when confronted by Maester Seymour. While the rest seem to accept the villain's presence, Oren knows he is not to be trusted. He is still lethal in battle as well, carrying around a large sword and with limits that could damage multiple opponents or even kick one from battle. That is a plus in my book. It is sad to say, however, that you do find out the truth about Oren. Throughout the game, you feel as if he's a living person. But when he forbids to seek help from spirits and even appears sick around them, it comes to you that Oren is in fact deceased. Still being held to the world by strong emotions, possibly to guard over his friend's children being Titus and Yuna. Once his old friend is defeated, everyone turns to Oren, and the sad moment of truth happens, when he willingly allows himself to rest after his duty has been fulfilled.
5,
Following with number 5, Zidane from Final Fantasy IX. If you dislike people who are usually upbeat and happy, Zidane is not the man to be around. Being a thief does not mean life has to be so dreary, for Zidane is still helping those who could use a hand, or flirting with the local women, to the point where he can't keep track of the names. As the main protagonist, the rest of the group is somehow drawn to Zidane. Being like a big brother to Vivi, having feelings for the princess and even those of your party who dislike him, he is still friendly. Like Vivi, Zidane was also created, but this time around as the Angel of Death. Not knowing his true mission though, Zidane was found at the age of 4 by his current band of thieves to be raised by them. It's not until much later that he truly finds out what he was and was supposed to do, sending Zidane into a sort of depressing state. With his friends by his side and the girl he loves, he easily shakes off his despair to make sure they are all safe. With such a big heart, he even stays behind in his own dying world in an attempt to rescue his created brother, Kuja. Thinking Zidane has died, his beloved assumes her role as queen with her friends by her side, but a heartfelt scene plays out with his return. Closing in on number 4, Red 13 from Final Fantasy VII. It's rare to have playable characters that are not human in the Final Fantasy franchise, but 7 gave us this red lion creature who seems to have more sense than most of the other characters. Being only equivalent to a 16-year-old, Red is still very wise. You first meet Red at the Shinra Corporation, being held as an experiment by, you guessed it, Hojo. After ending the sick plans, the Beast joins your group and is highly valuable with having the highest speed stat and providing buffs through his limit breaks. After arriving back home to his home village of Cosmo Canyon, Red tells you more about how his father fled like a coward when their home was attacked and his mother had died bravely. Sadly though, after dealing with a rather annoying cave, you come to find out that Red's father had actually stayed to protect the village and had been turned to stone. Despite being a beast, Red feels pain for thinking so lowly of his father, and howls when he sees his father crying at having him near again. Thankfully, Red does continue with you on your journey, and lives on much longer even after everyone else has passed on. Closing in on number 3, Squaw from Final Fantasy VIII. A major quality in any Final Fantasy character is the emotional development and change, and Squaw has to be the one that does a complete 180. Starting out quiet and considerably rude, even telling party members to talk to walls when wanting to express their emotions. Squaw can be hard to deal with at times, and you even think he will never change. As a member of Seed, an elite group of mercenaries, Squaw stays focused on the mission at hand, even when he's being emotionally bullied by his rival Cypher. But who can really blame him for being withdrawn? With his mother dying shortly after his birth, and never knowing who his father truly was, Squaw was sent to an orphanage with other kids his age to be mostly alone. He feels having connections with people and developing friendships will ultimately hurt in the long run, which is understandable. But Renoa, one of your party members, slowly cracks at his shell to make him see that it's alright to take risks and put your trust in others. This develops a relationship despite the world fearing her for being a sorceress and time compression happening. But in the end, Renoa comes to Squaw's aid to save him from his own loneliness. It goes to show that even those who seem tough actually need others around them, and possibly to change them for the better. Following with number 2, Titus from Final Fantasy X. Being famous is tough, and with a father who always belittled you makes it even tougher. Luckily, Titus is a character who tried to stay positive in the right moments, even though he can get emotional. With his father being a past famous blitzball player, Titus had a lot to live up to, but still held his own. That is, until he is taken from his own world and transported into the far future, where his lovely and vibrant city is now ruins. Having to cope with now learning how to fight in this new world and its customs, Titus is a fish out of water. Being ignorant does have its perks, however, for he is usually the one to bring laughter to the group and raise them up, even though he doesn't know that the woman he cherishes will soon die all because of their journey. It doesn't help either when his own father, who he thought had died, is the one causing destruction all over the place, and that you have to kill him. If that doesn't sound terrible already, Titus continues to remain the joy of the group. Even after finding out near the end, he is a dream made up by various summons. To make so many friends and feel what it's like to love, perhaps despite all those odds against him, it was worth living for even such a short time.
I have to go. I'm sorry I couldn't show you Xanarkand. Goodbye.
Finalizing with number 1, Laguna from Final Fantasy VIII. Toughness, joy, dependable, kind-hearted, generous. All of these attributes make up someone who you really want to be around in your time of need, and Laguna has all of them. Though sadly not a playable character except for flashbacks, this man is still one you feel for each time you watch him, and you grow to love him. When watching his outtakes of getting a leg cramp when attempting to talk to a girl he likes, or perhaps slipping off the edge of a cliff after throwing his friends off in laughter, it all sounds goofy, but Laguna truly has his heart set out for others. After being gravely injured in a mission, Laguna was found by a woman named Rain, who he eventually bonded with, along with her daughter Alone. After falling in love and married, Alone was kidnapped by the sorceress Adele, seeking her hidden power that exploited time. With Laguna searching after her, he was unaware of Rain being pregnant with Squaw. But by the time Laguna had returned, Rain had passed on, and both Squaw and Alone had been sent to an orphanage. After meeting face to face with your father, it is awkward, but with his advice on how to ultimately save the world and your time itself, Laguna merely says to Squaw, "Let's talk when this is all done. I have a lot to tell you." Without his advice, it would have probably been near impossible for you to even succeed. And even after this, I'm sure he hopes to begin being the father Squaw never had. If you have any Final Fantasy characters that left a mark on you, write it down in the comments. And like always, if you like this video, hit like. And if you want more, hit subscribe. Until then, I'll see you on the next one.